Hey guys, welcome back. This is Blue Forest. So today I want to do an updated version of the anti-tier list to go with the new version of the game. If you don't know what that is, the anti-tier list was a series of videos I did last year where I did some in-depth analysis on nearly every bot in the game by class. So if you'd like to check that out, there is a playlist with that series on my channel. But for now, I wanted to do an updated version because I have been getting a lot of questions from players asking, who should I rank up? Who should I use? And so I have a list of recommended bots that will be helpful, particularly for new players, beginners, or those returning to the game after a long absence. Now, I should say I don't like tier lists. That's why I call this the anti-tier list. Tier lists are very subjective. People usually just rank bots according to how much damage they do or who they like the most, and that's not helpful. Because in this game, every bot is playable, and you can do very well with any bot once you actually know how to use them. And so I prefer to take a more objective approach, and instead of just telling you who's best and who's not, I'm just going to give you some things to think about and recommend some bots that might be beneficial to you. We're going to focus right now on bots that are available to buy at the moment because, of course, a lot of bots are not yet playable and we don't know when everyone's coming. So a lot of these bots down here in gray, they might be in the game, like you can fight against a lot of them, but they're not available to play yet, right? We know that we're going to be getting more bots over time through the story, but that will probably take quite a while. They might unveil, some of the bots via other means. But a lot of these bots are not yet playable, so we're going to focus on the bots that we can get from the store. We do have a few dozen of them, and I'm also going to include OGM because we are going to get a 4-star OG Megatron with the completion of Act 2, which will come out over the next several weeks. So within a month or so, everyone will have access to him too. And so with all of that said, we're going to jump in here, and I have a list of 11 bots here that I feel will be beneficial, like I said, particularly to newer players or inexperienced players. I want to say, though, that if you like bots that are not on this list, please do go ahead, rank them up, and use them. You've got to play with bots that you do well with. I just feel like these bots have a lot of advantages for inexperienced players, but also these are bots that are easy to use, they're not complicated, they don't require a high skill level, and they have a range of abilities that will be useful when you're forming any kind of team in the game, okay? So we're gonna jump in. I wanna mention that I'm not going to list every single ability of every bot. If you want that in-depth analysis, check out the anti-tier list, but I am gonna highlight these bot strengths and give you a few things to think about when you're deciding who you want to rank up. So we're gonna start with Arcee. Arcee's a great warrior choice because she's fast-paced, she's easy to use, she's very fun to play, she's got a great fluid play style, and she just has some really nice things going for her. She crits a lot, she can do big damage, her bleeds are amazing, and she bleeds frequently. That's very fun. Her headshots are awesome. On top of that, her power gain is very important, and it's incredible because she will get a surge of power every time she crits, and she does crit a lot. That leads to a lot more specials, which is why you can use more specials with Arcee than nearly any other bot in the game. You can do special one after special one after special one. It's fantastic. That not only makes her fun to play with, it can also just be super, super helpful in longer fights. You get into a rhythm fighting with her, and she's phenomenal. Her SIG is also super useful. She gets an increased crit rate, but she also has anti-evasion, which we need more of right now because a few of the most popular anti-evade bots from the past, namely Drift and Hot Rod, are not playable anymore. And so her precision buff that he gets from her SIG, it won't activate all the time. You want to work on her SIG a little bit to get that precision chance up. However, even at low SIG, it will trigger sometimes, and that makes it very helpful against evade bots and mods. On top of that, she also has her own evasion against range shots, and that can be very helpful and get you out of trouble sometimes. So Arcee is a great bot if you like a fast-paced play style. She crits a lot, lots of bleeds, good damage, useful specials, anti-evasion, and evasion of her own. So she's definitely worth a look if that's the kind of thing you think you'll be happy with. Next up, we have Wheeljack. Wheeljack was always one of the most widely used bots for good reason. He's got tons of utility and a lot of things going for him, as well as a huge layer of protection with his shield and his healing, right? So his SIG is his force shield. You don't have to invest a lot into it because even at low SIG, it's going to activate for a few seconds at 75, 50, and 25% health. I should mention that SIG is not immune to DOT, so if he eats, bleed or shock, that will penetrate the shield. But the shield is phenomenal in terms of saving you when you eat a big hit against a non-DOT bot. If you're at 60% health and you eat a special that would otherwise kill you, it won't. Instead of going from 60% to 0, you'll go from 60 to 50 when the shield activates again. That can really save you when you run into trouble. On top of that, he heals with his special 3, and when he gets 3 of his upgrades, and his upgrades are great because he can get up to 3 of them very easily with his heavies, and they can give him attack, power flow, and damage resistance. Wheeljack stuns, he can shock, he can power leak, so he has power control. And he has phenomenal synergies, particularly, by the way, the synergies that he gives to other Autobots on his team, like OGP or B. He will give them one of his upgrades. So he's a great bot to build a team around. I do also just want to mention, if you want to extend the duration of that shield, you can use Nano Repair if you want that mastery. Just be careful about using it, though, because it's only going to benefit him. Nano Repair doesn't really help out other bots really at all, but it does help out Wheeljack quite a bit. So if you're using Wheeljack all the time, you want to use him in difficult content, you can apply Nano Repair, and that will extend the duration of that shield by up to a minute, which is pretty fantastic. So Wheeljack's a great choice for players of all skill abilities because he has so much utility, as well as that healing and that really awesome shield. So that brings us to Soundblaster. The demos are actually mostly a pretty simple class. They're all about big bursts of damage, and Soundblaster is very easy to use, not difficult. What I like about his kit is that he has his passive buffs. Now I should mention, Soundblaster used to be a tactician in the old version of the game. Now he's a demo with a very different kit. His kit is very similar to Mixmaster's, and Mixmaster had those really wonderful passive buffs, right? So with Soundblaster, you're going to get up to 6 special damage buffs and up to 6 crit damage buffs passively, and it takes less than a minute to get all 12 of them. Once you do, Soundblaster's damage is going to be significantly amplified, and then you can use a special, and then you can get those buffs again. You don't have to do anything for them. They're passive. They're easy to gain. I do like that about Soundblaster. His special 2 and 3 can hit very hard. They both have a very good chance to shock, and the shock is significant. It's really good shock damage. His special 2 is also very, very difficult for the AI to dodge. His SIG is nothing special. It just applies a trigger rate debuff on the opponent, and you would have to get his SIG high in order for it to activate a whole lot, but it doesn't really matter. You can just awaken him, and it will still activate every now and then. So if you want an easy, big damage demo to use, Soundblaster's a pretty good choice. He's not complicated, and he has some pretty decent synergies as well. That brings us to Prowl. So Prowl, probably the most widely used scout since the beginning of the game, for very good reason. Prowl is all about his power control, his buffs, and his SIG. Very simple kit, very easy to use, okay? His melee buffs, you dash back, you get up to 10 of them very quickly, seriously ramps up his damage. His SIG does not need to be high at all, and his SIG gives him a huge rush of power every time he charges those buffs, and that leads to more specials. And of course, his special 1 is one of the best in the game. because he drains so much power. Fantastic to use against any sort of power flow mod like we have in the new AM map, or any bot or mod that generates power quickly. Great for robot resource in raids, for example. His special 2, very difficult to dodge and can do a lot of damage, and his special 3 inflicts a long 16-second power lock, so he has power control there, and Prowl's got some pretty good synergy. So Prowl is just very easy to use, and if you need a power controller who also can do some major melee damage, Prowl is the bot that you would probably want to start with. So now we get to OGP, Optimus Prime. He is a very hard hitter, tons of damage, easy to use, and very useful abilities. His armor break is fantastic, great against tanky bots, armor mods. All of his specials can armor break, but remember that he has that permanent armor break with his special 3. Super useful in long fights in particular. And he gets that fantastic attack bonus with his heavies. He also bleeds with his SIG. And again, you don't have to get his SIG up that much for the bleeds to be very powerful. Helps you to finish the fights faster. He also has good defense with his armor buff, which he gets by blocking. You just block, he gets the armor buff, and you can apply it over and over again. He also has a fantastic synergy with Ratchet, which allows him to heal with heavies. So the lower that OGP's health is, the higher chance he will have to heal. This is why you often see OGP and Ratchet being used together in AMs. And OGP has a lot of great synergies with both Autobots and Decepticons. So if you're looking for just a hard-hitting, big damage, fun bot to use that's not difficult, OGP is certainly an excellent choice. He's always been a very widely used bot, and he always will be as long as we have the game. So that brings us to Ratchet. So Ratchet is the healing machine. This guy can heal like crazy, and that makes him a very safe choice for all different kinds of players. Now, like Wheeljack, Ratchet's base damage is not incredible. He's not going to hit super hard, but you can rack up that damage if you know how to use him. He's got good shocks and stuns, and you can really start to stun chain the opponent once you get the hang of him. But it's really his healing where he shines. So he's always going to heal with the special 2 and with his heavy when he's below 50% health, and he will heal with his SIG. Now his SIG has a pretty low activation rate if it's not very high, but it doesn't really matter because he can heal in a few other ways, and when his SIG does activate, he can heal all the damage taken in the previous 4 seconds, which is pretty awesome because if you eat a big special and take a ton of damage, he can heal all that back up when his SIG triggers. That's pretty sweet. So regardless though, healing is the name of the game with Ratchet. If you're either struggling or you want a bot for difficult fights or for long fights, if you want a bot that's difficult to kill, Ratchet's an excellent place to start because once you get the hang of him, you can literally take him from 5% health back up to 100 if you know how to use him. So he's a great choice if you want that layer of protection. Like I said, he has that great synergy with OGP, and he has some good synergies with other Autobots. So now we get to Grimlock. Grimlock is a great purifier, widely used for that reason, and he's also a lot easier to use than TC. Thundercracker's a lot more difficult to master. Grimlock's all about his purification. He's built for DOT fights. All you have to do is awaken him, but you don't have to get his SIG up because his purification is the same at SIG or 100. It's only the melee damage that is increased with SIG level. He can purify most things, not everything, but he will purify things like bleed, shock, and burn. Really good, by the way, for the new AM map because some of those mods are very powerful and there's a lot of shock lanes in particular. So if you're struggling on the new AM map, Grimlock might be a really good choice for some of those lanes. He has an unstoppable heavy, and he also takes no damage when he's in that Dinobot form, which is pretty awesome. His special 2 hits like a truck. His special 3 is very good. He's got burns. He can easily refresh his melee boss with his heavy. So, like I said, he's not difficult. He's a great purifier. He does air punch a lot, which I should mention. If you don't know what air punching is, that's when your bot will whiff when you try to hit the opponent, even if you're right next to them, right? The hit will miss even when it shouldn't. Or they might do what I call air dashing, which is when your bot dashes across the arena but kind of stops halfway, almost like it's tripping over itself. Air punching has been around forever. Kabam never fixed it. It probably never will be fixed. It's extremely annoying. You just have to learn how to live with it, and every bot does it. But Grimlock has always been one of the worst offenders in that department. With that said, plenty of people do very, very well with Grimlock. And so if you want a purifier, if you want a bot that's built to fight against DOT bots and mods, Grimlock will be a very good choice for you. That leads us to Dirge. Dirge is a great big damage bot with lots of crits, amazing bleeds, and of course, Fear, which was a new ability when Dirge came out. Fear is amazing because it's applied at the start of every fight. It can't be purified, and it can be applied over and over again. It's also very difficult to remove because the opponent can only take Fear off of Dirge with melees. So as long as you're not eating lots of melee combos, the opponent will not be able to remove Fear, and it will cause them massive bleed damage. The bleeds are crazy strong, and Dirge himself also gets some really good bonuses in terms of crits, in terms of burn damage on specials when Fear is on the opponent. And so Dirge is a very good bot to practice with because you are rewarded for not being hit with those melee combos. And since dodging is so important in this game, if you want to use Dirge, just practice dancing around the arena. And if you don't get hit with those melee combos, the opponent will just bleed to death. And it's really, really fun to see. He's got good specials as well. He's got a few good synergies with the Seeker bots. And so if you want a big damage bot with lots of bleeds that's not difficult, Dirge is an excellent option. He also has a really good sig. He gets a nice attack boost when the opponent misses with melees. That's kind of how his own anti-evasion works as well. He doesn't prevent the opponent from evading, but he penalizes the opponent when they evade. That's one of the other really nice things about Fear. So now we come to Bumblebee. Bumblebee is very fast-paced as well, kind of like Arcee. He's kind of hyper, he's kind of crazy. I love playing with him personally. And he also has a very unique ability in the form of Shield Break, which is super helpful. So he can break the shield of tech bots like Wheeljack or Soundwave. They can be very annoying to fight against with their shields, so he can break those shields and apply shock at the same time. He can also break shield mods like Energon Shield, which is in the new AM map. He also has great power gain and power control because his special 2 inflicts a 10-second power lock, and his sig gives him passive power gain. And again, you don't have to rank up that sig barely at all, because even at low sig, he's going to be getting about 2% passive power gain per second when he's near the opponent. That will lead to a lot more specials. That will lead to a lot more special 2s as well when you need them, which will also then therefore lead to more power control on the opponent. So once you get used to using B, you can inflict that power lock with the special 2 and then be aggressive and attack and get up to another special 2 very quickly. And when you need to, you'll be able to inflict power lock on the opponent over and over again. It makes him much more fun to play. You can do tons and tons of specials. Because B is a scout, he also crits quite a lot, which is fun. He has some very good synergies with other Autobots, and I should mention his evasion's very good. It's a good defensive ability. His melee evade goes up with rank, so he will definitely save you every now and then when you get into trouble. He will evade when other bots wouldn't. So if you want a fast-paced bot with some good power gain and control, as well as that unique shield break ability, B is an awesome bot to invest in. So Motormaster is next, and he is one of the simplest bots in the game. Super simple kit, super easy to use, very fun, particularly if you like an aggressive playstyle, because Motormaster is all about his unstoppable, his debuffs, and lots of melee damage, right? So he's going to go unstoppable every time he dashes at the opponent, It causes all kinds of problems for the opponent when you do that. You have to be willing to take a little bit of collateral damage on things like range shots, because if you're being very aggressive, you probably will eat a little bit of collateral damage, but if you can live with that, it doesn't really matter. His melee damage is really good. His special 2 is awesome, and he goes unstoppable on that as well. And his special 3 is a monster. It applies a ton of debuffs and can do massive damage. You have to be careful with the special 3 though, because he does take damage on it. So it's the only special in the game where he's actually going to take damage. However, it can be super useful when you need to use it. And I just love his ram debuffs that he gets with his heavies. He can apply an armor break, attack debuff, or power rate debuff on the opponent with every heavy, and you can stack them, and you can apply them over and over again. So if you want, like I said, an aggressive playstyle, fast-paced, kind of in-your-face kind of bot that'll do a lot of damage, he's a good choice. He's not a purifier, you have to remember that. But I should also mention his SIG, which I personally find to be very fun. It's a polarizing SIG because he gets a melee bonus with every 20% of lost health. So because it is the kind of SIG that you have to lose health to get, not everybody loves it. However, it does make Motormaster a monster at low health. You get down to 40%, 20% health, he gets multiple melee bonuses, and it seriously ranks up his damage. And so, because of that, if you're the kind of player that likes to take risks and be aggressive at the same time, Motormaster, I think, would definitely be for you. And like I said, he's not difficult to play at all. So finally, I do want to mention OGM, Megatron. He's not in the game yet, so I'll talk more about him later. But I just wanted to highlight him because he's an awesome bot. He was always one of the most widely used bots in the previous version of the game, and he's got a lot going for him, particularly his buff steals, which allow him to steal any kind of buff, makes him a monster in difficult fights, in long fights, because he can steal any kind of buff, melee buffs, special damage buffs, range buffs, healing buffs, anything. He can steal buffs over and over again. That's an ability that's unique to him. A few other bots can copy buffs, but he can steal them. And he just has a lot of other really good things too. He's got great armor break. His special 3 is a monster. That cannon of his is super useful. So I wanted to include him on this list because he will be out in several weeks, but also because if you're not using OGP or you're looking for another tactician to invest in, you might want to wait for Megatron because he has so much going for him. He's one of the best bots in the game for long fights in particular. And he just has some unique abilities that will be helpful to just about anybody at any skill level, right? So if you're looking for a tactician to invest in, I would definitely recommend holding off for OGM because he's the kind of bot that can do unbelievable damage. He has great synergies with the other Decepticons, which I'm sure the other Decepticons will be coming out later. And he is just really fun to play as well. So I will leave it there for now, guys. I hope this is helpful. I do want to finally say, though, that the best thing that you can do is to simply experiment. So if you're new or if you're getting back into things, play around with the 2- and 3-star versions of your bots. Get a feel for them because the bots that you play best with might surprise you. That's why I say don't listen to people who tell you to use this bot because they think he's the best. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the bots that you play best with. So I would experiment with different bots. Once you have a few bots that you really like and do well with, then you can build teams around them, and then you can devote resources to ranking up those 4 stars of yours. Because I don't think we're going to be getting 5 stars for quite a while. 4 stars are going to be the sort of top of what we have for now. And so you want to be careful about ranking up bots prematurely. You don't want to rank up 4 stars that you don't even like or play well with. So, like I said, test bots out, get a feel for them. Once you have a sense of who you're going to do well with, then devote those resources to your 4 stars. And so, I hope this has been helpful, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll be in touch again soon. Take care.